Hello, this is Dr. Janice Love, and welcome to my YouTube channel. How's your sleep going? Just a simple question I wanted to ask today. How is your sleep going? Are you getting the proper sleep and rest that will extend your life and will help you to be productive and present for all that you do? Well, if you're not, you definitely want to stay tuned for this conversation with LaShasta Nelson, who is a sleep expert and a sleep professional who will tell us how it all starts in the bedroom. So stay tuned. Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Janice R. Love, and welcome to Asking for a Sister Friend. Now, I am coming back from vacation and had a great time, and am so glad that we are here for another episode. So, come on in, get settled in because we have a conversation that you do not want to miss today. Remember, here at Asking for a Sister Friend, it's where real talk meets real transformation. Again, I am your host, Dr. Janice R. Love, the founder of Pearls Perfected Institute. And today we're going to be diving into a topic again that many of us really overlook, but we desperately need. It's all about sleep and mental health. Let's talk about sleep. In fact, while I was on vacation last week, guess what? I had no problems whatsoever with sleep, but got back home and now because I got to get caught up on stuff, now the sleep is suffering. But we have someone here today who's going to help us with that. So, our conversation today is going to be about it starts in the bedroom. Now, again, remember, we are focusing on sleep today before your mind goes somewhere else. But let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Our guest today, she is bold, she is brilliant, and she has a no nonsense voice that you didn't even know that you needed. Her name is LaShasta Bell, and she's also known as the professional sleep strategist. She's a certified sleep science coach, a corporate wellness consultant, and a licensed mental health professional. But more than that, you all, she's a truth teller, okay? She's a survivor and she's a powerhouse who knows that success without rest is a setup for burnout. LaShasta's
Oh,
philosophy is very simple. She says, don't sleep on sleep. And I can't wait to ask her what that means. But she brings not only science, but soul to the conversation about rest, resilience, and reclaiming your well being, especially in high performance spaces where Black women, especially, often carry the highest, the heaviest loads. So, as you can see, I am excited about our guest today because she's going to help us not to sleep on sleep. So, LaShasta, welcome to the stage.
hey there, hey there. Oh my goodness, that intro. I'm like, can I get that recorded and just play it every time? Because it's like, who you? She talking
Yes, I'm talking about you.
about
And because I love what you're doing. In fact, when I first found you, I was like, I have to have her on Asking for a Sister Friend because so many of us suffer from sleep. But the first question, I want to start with the basics here because you talk about don't sleep on sleep. Now, what is that all about?
It's literally what it is. Like the when we think about people's like, oh, don't sleep on me because I'm coming. Don't sleep on Bitcoin because it's gonna pop. So it's like don't sleep on sleep. That's the very thing that we need, but it's the last thing that we consider. And so I want people to know, like, don't sleep on it. Like, factor it in. Let it be a priority. Let it be at the top, the first thing. Literally, if you cranky, how my sleep? If you can't, lose weight, how's my sleep going? If you can't focus, how's my that's what I want for this world. That we stop sleeping on sleep because that's literally what we've been doing. That's why our nation is sleep deprived. That's why our world is sleep deprived, is because we are constantly sleeping on sleep.
I love that. And I'm the number one witness. I'll raise my hand because over the years, whether it's because of jobs or health challenges or or even just personal situations. At one time I worked a night shift, which we know is the the best
Oh,
way to ruin your sleep, right? And
yes.
then at a time I suffered from Graves' disease, which means I was hyper all the time. It was hard to go to sleep. And then, when stuff gets on our minds, we have all these things going on. Again, we end up sleeping on sleep and trying to do everything else, trying to fit everything else in but sleep. So let me ask you this question. You're working with high performance professionals. So as you begin to work with people, what are some early warning signs that people can recognize that says they're sleeping on sleep, that they're not getting the sleep, and how is it affecting them, either their mental health or even their job performance?
So one of the one of the very smallest telltale signs
Mhm.
is making errors, small errors.
Mm,
Like if you're writing out something or you're sending an email, you forget a word or you add too many letters here or you misspell. And unfortunately, it's harder to pick up on those small things because we have this little thing called autocorrect.
mhm,
However, when you're typing an email and you see more red lines than you usually see, and you got to go click to correct, that is a telltale sign of I may not be getting enough sleep because my cognitive ability, or even not making the best decision. Because sometimes we'll decide, like, why did I even decide that? Like, what was I thinking when these are the things that we dismiss or we'll write it off on something else, like, oh, I just got ADHD, self diagnosing,
mhm,
or oh, the anxiety, those new song, the anxiety got the best of me. We will write it off on the things that society say is trending
mhm,
and never connect it to sleep. So underperforming, um, errors, heightened
mhm,
irritability, um, cognitive decision making,
mhm,
slowing down or going opposite direction, brain fog. Those are
mm.
just some of the things that are very, very common right now, and nobody's tying it to sleep. Everybody's sleeping on sleep.
Wow, because when I try to explain myself sometimes, I'll say things like, "Oh, I've been exposed to technology too long. I've been looking at screens all day." Or I tried to multitask. That's a famous one I would use to my to cover up that the fact that I hadn't had any sleep. So I appreciate you bringing that out because we do try to cover it up rather than admitting we're missing out on the fundamental thing that God gave us in the first place to restore our bodies, to restore our minds, and we just go right past it. It
Absolutely, and let's not even get on rest because the thing is, sleep and rest are not the same thing.
true. Mhm.
They're two different things with two
Mhm.
different functions. Now, do some of their functionality overlap? Absolutely, but that's just like saying an apple cutter and a knife are the same thing. Some of their functionalities overlap, but they are not the same. Do they both have a blade? Yes. Can they both cut things? Yes, but the apple cutter is only for the apple. You might can slide an orange in there. I don't know. I haven't tried. But but the knife is so very multifunctional. So when we think about sleep and rest, we absolutely need to think about them separately. And
Mhm.
to your point, people literally don't intentionally explain it away because they're not checking for sleep. They don't even
Mm.
think that that's the reason that they're misspelling words. Or now irritability, sometimes we'll tie it to that, but usually most of the time we like, oh, we hungry, or is that time
Uh-huh.
of month? Once
Right.
again, not going to, or I'm perimenopausal or I'm menopausal, because that's the whole trend now too. Everybody
Mhm.
want to be in a bucket. Either I'm perimenal, I'm post, or I'm mental. And
Right.
I'm none of those. I'm gonna let y'all have all of that. Age, my age is not going to be a determiner,
Uh-huh.
and even my doctor, because don't get me wrong, I tried to sign up to be in a box, to be in a bucket, and she was like, no, ma'am.
Mhm.
Let's look at something else because it's not the answer. I'm like, okay, well, let me. I knew it wasn't my sleep because I was
Right.
sleeping fairly well, but discovered that it was how I was sleeping because I would have my bonnet
Mm.
on and my eye mask, and the temperature of my head was getting warm, causing my body to heat up. But guess what? If I wasn't with the sleep expert situation, then I would have, and if my doctor wasn't as an expert as she is, I probably would have been on medication for something that's not even a thing yet.
Girl, you just messed me up with the with the sleep bonnet and the mask, right? Because I can't sleep in the sleep bonnet, number one, but I do sleep in the mask because I have this light thing. But we'll get on to my little issues later, right? Because I'm gonna solve some of my problems while I'm talking to you today, girl. I'm gonna do that.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. Most podcasters do be like, oh, here, I got some personal questions. Because guess what? If you have questions,
Mhm.
your questions are probably and the answers are needed for more than just you.
Exactly. 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 All right. So let's talk a little bit about what deprivation is costing us. Let's talk consequences. What are some of the hidden or overlooked costs of sleep deprivation, especially
Okay.
in Black and Brown communities? Let's talk about that.
Okay, so first of all, I want to define sleep deprivation so we're all on
Okay.
the same page.
Okay.
Sleep deprivation is identified as a series of nights, days, months, years of getting less than 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
Okay.
Not in the bed, y'all, sleep. Because some people be like, I get in the
Mm-hmm.
bed at 9 and I don't get up till 6, but you doom strolling for 2 hours. That don't count in the bed.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So if you're getting less than 7 to 9 hours on average over a span of time, then you're creating a sleep debt, and that sleep debt equals sleep deprivation. Now, what is it costing us? The last statistic that I ran across on a national level, it was over a 411 billion with a B problem for the work industry. So between absenteeism, presenteeism, low work productivity, the nation, it's costing over $411 billion.
Ooh, that's something I can't even imagine. But again, I think about in my own life what it has cost me, and it might not even be put into dollars, but just my well-being at times,
A-
right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I start with the big number because
Mm-hmm.
people want money makes sense to folks. Like,
Right.
oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. And if you're an entrepreneur or you're in leadership in a company, your company numbers are included in that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's valuable to take a moment to look and to assess how are the employees sleeping? If they are sleeping, how are they resting? Do they know how to rest? And that's where your girl come in to build corporate wellness programming that's customizable. But when we look at the individual level and we look at the black and brown culture, when I speak and train and I'm in a room of black and brown women, the CDC says there's about a third of Americans not that's has sleep deprivation. So
Okay.
the sleeping, the falling asleep, and the staying asleep and getting enough time. So it
Okay.
is a 7 to 9 hours, but it's also part of how long does it take you to fall asleep, and do you
Mm-hmm.
stay asleep continuously during that time? And there are moments that we are awake that we don't consciously know we're awake, but
Mm-hmm.
popping up, going to the bathroom, you up. So
Yeah.
that can create sleep deprivation. So CDC says about a third, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I poll rooms of black and brown women, that number doubles.
Everybody hands go up.
Everybody hands go up. Upwards of 60 to 70%
Mm-hmm.
of black and brown women, either of the three things, they have a hard time falling asleep,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that they don't fall asleep within 10 to 15 minutes, which is the norm.
Uh-huh.
They have a hard time staying asleep, which means they are actively, consciously awake throughout the night. Some of them even getting out of bed, turning on TV, and or they're not getting 7 to 9 hours of continuous sleep. And what
Mm.
does that tie out to in individual levels? 7 of the 15 chronic diseases are tied to sleep deprivation, diabetes being one of them, obesity being another one of them, heart disease. When we talk about black and brown women, those three are the top of what's killing us or what's keeping us from living the optimal life.
Mm. So people need to hear from you, right? Organizations, Black women's groups, they need to be inviting you in. So if you come in and work with the organization, what are some of the things that you do with the organizations to help them to understand really the value of doing something like this in the first place, and helping them to really understand that it's going to help them their bottom line even.
Right, it absolutely helps their bottom line. What I like to start with is root cause analysis.
Okay.
I like to start with taking first the leadership team, having a
Hmm.
conversation, saying like, what's the pain points? What's going on? And typically leadership is going to be like, people not coming to work, or people coming to work and spending
Hmm.
8 hours doing 4 hours of work, or me having to micromanage. And I listen and I hear and I tell them how that's tied to sleep deprivation. And then I say, now let's see what the people say. And then I'll bring in my team and we work in small groups. We survey them real time right there. So they don't, it's not like fill this out when you at home or fill this out later. It's right then. Leadership has no access to it initially. And we then do the survey and we talk real talk about what's
Okay.
going on, what's plaguing you in your personal life or work life, because it's all one life. Let's be honest. It's one continuous circle. And we take that and we generate about a 10-page report to
Hmm.
tell the organization this is what's going on and here's some ideas of how to solve it. And a lot of those ideas are coming from the people that you need to hear from. I just know how to make it look good and pretty on paper.
I love it. I love it.
And then we go in and we do training. We do
Hmm.
virtual wellness challenges through the app, so they
Hmm.
can say, okay, we want to challenge a quarter, and we want the challenge to focus on nutrition. Because when I talk about living an optimal life, that's yes, the goal is sleep and rest. But what I
Hmm.
realize is people don't understand how to cultivate their sleep from the moment they wake up. So I created the framework of this is what you do in the daytime so
Hmm.
you can sleep good at nighttime.
Ooh, I love this. So we're gonna take a short break here, but when we come back, I really want to talk about that conversation about it all starting in the bedroom, and you talking about the fact that it starts when you wake up, because we don't sometimes we don't think about it till 10 minutes before we're supposed to get in the bed, and we don't have a ritual and that kind of thing. So when we come back, I want you to really give us some tips that are going to help us to at least get started on the right path. All right. So let's
Absolutely.
take a station break here, and then we'll come right back.
Are you an expert speaker or coach with valuable knowledge to share? Now's your chance to teach, inspire, and get paid. Pearls Perfected Institute is recruiting passionate instructors to share their expertise with the world. We provide content support, course building tools, and a platform to reach more learners so that you can focus on what you do best, which is teaching. No tech hassle, just your knowledge, your voice, and your impact. Join us today. Apply now at pearlsperfectedinstitute.com and start sharing your expertise with the world.
All right, we are back here, and we are talking with LaShasta Bell, and we are talking about it starts in the bedroom. Now, before we took our station break, she started mentioning some things like it starts in the morning rather than 10 minutes before you go to bed. So I can't wait to hear a little bit more about that, because I thought I had a routine, right? But really my routine is was more about, you know, how my bedroom's set up, that kind of stuff, and then making sure I shut down screens and all that. But I really want you to give us something that we can work with to start getting some sleep. All right.
Absolutely. So yes, it everything that you want and you desire starts in the bedroom. It starts with prioritizing your sleep and rest. That's what it means about it starts in the bedroom. That optimal life that you're waiting for the next thing to get to. I'm waiting for retirement. I'm waiting for the kids to leave. I'm waiting for this, and then I can live. No, you can pursue the optimal life right now, and it starts with prioritizing your sleep and rest. That's how it starts in the bedroom. Now, the phrase of we should be cultivating our sleep from the moment we wake up means that what you think, what you say, what you listen to, what you watch, what you ingest, whether it's a physical ingestion or a mental ingestion, it all contributes to how you sleep at night. Because when I'm working with individuals one on one, and even on a corporate and an organization level, one of the biggest things is my brain is busy. I just can't turn my brain off. And the reason why it's hard to turn your brain off is because all of the things that you allow yourself to be exposed to during the day, the conversation that went unspoken, the boundary that went unset. And those are boundaries for yourself or for others. The people you surround yourself with. And when we talk about the optimal life, that's literally what we're talking about. Your sacred and your strategic collective. That's where you can start. Because people want to say, oh, well, my sleep hygiene, or like you said, a ritual or
Mhm.
routine.
Mhm.
That's cool. We can talk about that, but you also can get on AI and Google that. Like, let me
Mhm.
just
Right.
be real. You can
Mhm.
say, like, what's a good sleep hygiene routine? And it's
Yeah.
going to pop it out. But what it's not going to pop out and tell you that those friends that you've had for 20 years may not be the friends that's supposed to go with you for the next 20 years.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Say that again.
That the friends you've had for 20 years may not be the ones who's going with you for the next 20 years. They may be seeing you as yourself 20 years younger, which is holding you in a box. And then not even understanding consciously, you restraining yourself and you want to talk about big dreams and visions, but they don't have that capacity.
Mm.
So
Wow.
our strategic collective is you choosing who you surround yourself with, how you surround yourself throughout the day.
Mhm.
Because when I'm not having a great day, I have a strategic collective. I call them my security team. They help me
Okay.
secure my sanity when I cannot. So when the a few years ago, Southwest Airlines went down around Christmas time and
Mhm.
people were missing their flights. That was my first time traveling with the family with our newborn or infant at that point.
Mhm.
And it went from we're gonna take a quick flight to Florida to oh my gosh, we got to be in the car 17 hours with the baby and I'm breastfeeding. And if I wish I would have saved the text threads back then because I had friends hitting me like, just take the deep breaths, friend. You know, thank God for the pivot. There are some people gonna
Uh-huh.
sleep at the airport tonight, but you can pivot and rent a car and get home. You guys can stop as much as you like because all I was thinking was like, where's the next airport? Can I get a flight? Can y'all drop me out? Me and the baby. Let's
Mhm.
catch a flight.
Mhm.
And so that's what I mean by it should be cultivated. When you're eating certain things right before bed that's going to energize you, are you putting caffeine in your body trying to stay awake at 4 p.m., 5 p.m., but
Mhm.
then when it's 9, 10 o'clock, you wonder why you can't go to sleep?
Mhm. Now, this one's for me. I just need you to save an argument in my household. Okay. My husband thinks it's fine when I'm out of town. He thinks it's fine to sleep with the TV on.
So it's not ever fine to sleep with the TV on. I had a participant from an audience that came up to me later and was like, is that why I wake up singing a Golden Girl song? Is because what's playing 1 o'clock in the morning is Golden Girl reruns. And so your brain is still processing the information to whereas what your brain should be processing is everything from the day, the learning of
Uh-huh.
the day, the emotions of the day, which once again is the reason why I say you should cultivate your sleep from the moment you wake up because your brain has less heavy lifting to do if you're
Mhm.
not arguing with folks, if you're not cussing them out in your head, you know, if you're not retyping that email 50, 11 times because per our conversation is,
Mhm.
then if you're doing less of that because you're regulating your emotions, you are checking in with your mental wellness during the day, then at night, the brain has less heavy lifting. So yes, the
Mhm.
sleep is a biological process, is what I
Mhm.
tell people. If you understand sleep, it's your muscles recovering,
Mhm.
your brain recovering, the blood flow. It's very biological. The rest is where we renew, is where we recharge. That's what God called us to do. Literally,
Mhm.
I just spoke at a church, and Mark 6:31 is what the Lord gave me, where He said, "Go to a desolate place, like get away so
Mhm.
you can
Mhm.
rest." Like we've been so busy, we can't even eat. There's so many people in and out around, and some of us keep too many people in and around us, back and
Mm.
forth with information that we don't need. that
Mhm.
it disrupts our ability to rest and our ability to sleep. And so if you're minding your business, because I like to tell people stay rested, stay hydrated, and stay out of other folks' business.
I got you. I mean, because when you think about scrolling Facebook all day, Instagram, and all that is in being in other folks' business, right?
Right. Either, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And that's what I tell
Mhm.
people. It's like, because it's like, well, I'm not on the shade room and all that. And no shade to the shade room. However, it does not matter what the information is when it's late at night. What it matters is that there's more information that you're asking your brain to process. Even if it's the fuzzy little kittens, your brain have to say, those are kittens. They are white. They are playing in the grass. Oh, what fun. It's still a process. And
I just
so,
love how you speak in my language because, I was trained in biopsych, and so I understand all the biological processes. But I love the way you bring in mental health and mental wealth, and even just our daily activities that we don't think have anything to do with sleep. I love how you're doing that, and
well,
and
thank you.
so I if you had to say 2 things that a woman should start with, especially a woman who is a high performing woman, a woman who finds herself feeling guilty because she rests, who's trying to accomplish everything. Tell me 2 simple things that she can do to start getting better sleep.
Okay. And it's not even what I think, y'all,
Right,
because
exactly.
this is what the facts are. Literally, I just
Okay.
had a client talking about not being able to sleep, having a hard time. We did a diagnosis check of what's
Mhm.
happening during the day, what's happening at night. And the next morning, she said, oh, I slept so good. And I said, which of the things that you do? She said, I only did one. I made
Mm,
sure I did not get in the bed with my phone and I stopped scrolling an hour or so before bed. And she
mm,
was scrolling like shopping. And prior to that, I showed her how to, because I like to say, let your smartphone be smart for you. So I showed her how to put boundaries for herself and others with do not disturb on her phone. Because sometimes, yeah, we'll put the do not disturb where people can't get in, but we don't put do not disturb where we can't get out.
I love it. You're
So
so you're so right.
and I'm speaking from my own experience. Like my phone will go down at a certain time, but if I
Yeah.
can still text, I'm gonna tell
Mhm.
myself I'm gonna send this one more text. But now, y'all, my phone is on lockdown. When 10:15 hit, you got to be on a special curated list for me to even see
Right.
your text message. I can see it came through, but it literally says preview hidden. So that's
Mhm.
the one thing that women can do right away.
Okay. Okay.
Take the
I love that.
phone away from the bed. Don't even
Mhm.
get in the bed with the phone. I think there's
Mhm.
2 things that ought to be in the bed: sleep and sex. That's it.
Exactly.
If you ain't doing them two, then stay out the bed. And then I was just saying, watch TV from the couch.
That's right.
Sit
Keep
up,
it real. Keep it real. That's so
snack
true.
snack before, because they have this whole bed rotting where people just, it's a whole concept of that you just be in your bed snacking and eating, and who wants to roll around in crumbs? But anyway, I'm judging them
Girl.
right now. I'm
I
judging.
know I judge them all the time because I tell my husband, you defiling the bed. I
That's
have
it.
this. You defiling the bed. Don't get in there with on the bed with clothes and stuff. Just don't defile my bed.
Oh, we're not gonna talk about sit. Don't sit on the bed with no outside clothes on. Anyway, let me let me stop, because that's gonna go over some people's head. We showing our
Right.
head with our age, right? And
Right.
then I would say the second thing to do is to set the boundaries for yourself and others where you already know boundaries are needed. Like
Mhm.
we clearly, anytime I'm speaking and training with women, they know the person
Mhm.
that they are allowing to go boundaryless in their lives. They instantly know. And a
Mhm.
lot of them know exactly what they need to do. It's just a concern of what's going to happen when they do it. But what I'm going to tell you all is what's going to happen if you don't do it. You're going to die early
Mhm.
than you would want to. You're going to
Right.
die earlier than God said that you should, because the
Mhm.
sleep deprivation, getting less than 7 hours, it can increase your mortality rate anywhere from 6 to 13%, depending on how many
Mhm.
hours you're getting.
Mhm. Mm.
So, like you said, I speak the truth, and from the soul. I'm not in a season of let's make it pretty. Let's
Mhm.
make it real. Let's make it easily digestible. But I'm gonna keep it 100. Like, we
Mhm.
want to live these long lives. We say black don't crack, and it doesn't on the outside. But what's happening on the inside, though?
Mm. Yes. Yes. Okay, LaShasta, I am really just anxious to ask you this question. So I have noticed that a lot of people now are really talking about the fact that they have sleep apnea. That
Hmm.
and so as a result of that, they need to be put on a CPAP, which is going to solve all their sleep problems. What do you have to say about that?
It's part of the solution. It's not all of the solution, and we should be very careful and mindful about who we allow to diagnose us with what. Simply
Okay.
because there are other things that can contribute to respiratory problems and issues like allergens. Not just seasonal allergies. A lot of times we want to think about, oh, the pollen and this and that, but what we ingest. At the age of 38, I discovered I had a seafood allergy. And now, going into 45, we're looking at, is there a possible nut allergy, which can impact my respiratory, which could, if I'm not addressing it, lead to heavier breathing at night or more
Mm.
snoring at night, which are some of the symptoms, can be some of the symptoms of needing a CPAP or having sleep apnea. And sometimes having a sleep apnea doesn't mean you need a CPAP either, not right away. So I
Mhm.
would just say, for our Black and Brown people to be very cognizant and diligent about advocating and making sure there's no detail undisclosed, because it could be a difference of one thing that says yes you need it, or say no we need a different
Mm.
treatment plan. And then also understanding having a CPAP is not a life sentence. So if you do indeed need it, it's not a forever place. The doctor you're working with should be helping you to wean off of that, because the CPAP literally is supplying oxygen that's needed to oxygenate the body while you're asleep. Those 7 to 9 hours, your body got to do its biological thing. And so if you're not getting 7 to 9, getting a CPAP, yes, will help, but you still got to get that 7 to 9 if you don't want to be masked up the rest of your life.
I love that because so again, so having a CPAP is not a license to do what you want to do, just so you can claim that you're getting the sleep that you're supposed to sleep. So, ooh, girl, I'm so glad I remembered to bring that up because you have definitely answered that question. Anything you want to add about that before?
I mean, just on a, I love personal experiences, and people that my family know that if it's my story is your story is
Mhm.
my story. And my ex husband for a long time did not think that he was not was had stopped breathing in his sleep. Long story short, he did need a CPAP, and he fought with the idea of wearing it. And he does plant work in his shift, not
Mhm.
necessarily nights, but he was working in the plant at that time, which means he wasn't getting quality sleep. And long story short, when he wore his CPAP, even if it was for shorter sleep, 5 hours, 6 hours,
Mhm.
he felt better when he woke up because he was getting the oxygen that he needed. So if you have one and you're resistant to wear it, wear it. And
Mhm.
then once he felt how good it was to wake
Mhm.
up and not be groggy, he was like, okay, let me fix my schedule so that I'm in bed long enough, because FOMO is real, even if it's just fear of missing
Mhm.
out with the family or fear of
Right.
missing out on time with your partner at the end of the day for work. When he adjusted that and was getting those 7 hours and the CPAP, his doctor was able to adjust the amount of oxygen
Mm.
that he was getting to lessen, because he was doing more of the work he needed to do for himself. Then eventually it'll come to a point that if he continue, he won't need the CPAP at all.
So I love it. I love the fact that you basically said you got to do the work. You got to do what you got to do in order to get the sleep that you need. And don't just depend on medication. Don't just depend on technology or whatever. You got to do the work, especially when it comes to mindset and all that. So, yes, thank you so much for answering that question. All
Absolutely.
right. Yes. Yes. So there's all these trends. Well, what one that has been there forever is, of course, taking sleep aids, right? That's been something that's been around forever. But now I've seen a whole lot more of these apps and these electronic tools coming out to help people to track and improve their sleep. Have you found any of those to be helpful, or is that just putting you in front of a screen even more to disrupt your sleep?
So I personally use a sleep tracker.
Mhm.
And I have used it for many, many years. I think at
Okay.
this point, I've clocked almost 2,000 nights.
Mhm. Okay.
Now, you have to know thyself and to thy own self be true.
Mhm.
Because if you are an anxious person that's about, let me get an A, then a sleep tracker is not going to be for you. I'm just being honest. It's some people,
Uh-huh.
it's more about feeling accomplished than the
Uh-huh.
journey. And
Right.
so the sleep tracker is about the journey. It's about
Mhm.
helping you to know how well you're sleeping, what things you can do to improve your sleep. But if
Mhm.
the focus is going, if they're going to get hyper focused on, oh, I got to put the app on and I got to make
Mhm.
sure, then now that's stirring up angst in your mind before you go to bed. So
Mhm.
I think it has to be a case by case situation because I've heard people say just don't use the app at all. Wear the Aura ring, but even the Aura ring is or
Mhm.
any type of ring. If you are the type of person that can become hyper focused on getting it right, then none of it is probably for you without support.
Mm, okay, that makes total sense. Because I know I used to try to wear my Fitbit to sleep, but I can't do that because jewelry on me while I'm trying to sleep bothers me. But I got my own issues. But Shasta, you have given me so much information, and our listening audience. Hopefully, you all are listening listening to her about the importance of sleep and what you need to do about. So let's let people know how they can find you because I am sure whether it's a corporate organization or even individuals who want to be more strategic about their sleep. Tell us about how we can find you.
So LaShastaBell.com, and then I am LaShasta Bell on all of the platforms: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. Connect, drop me a note, slide in my DMs. I am okay with that. People will pop in and ask questions, frequently, and I don't mind answering a question or two. But I'm gonna tell you, sis, once it's more than two, you're gonna have to get on them books because
I know that's right.
that's a whole boundary. You know what I mean? I can't,
Uh,
you know, but
I
yeah,
understand.
that's absolutely how they can reach me.
I mean, you're a professional. You're the sleep strategist. You can save organizations money. Again, you can add years to individuals' lives. So yes, that's something that's a gift God gave you to be used to be a blessing to others, and the value that you bring to somebody's life is worth whatever they pay for it. So I stand on that
A-
all the time.
Absolutely. What the Bible say, your gift will make room for you, and
Room for
that's
you. Hey, all
and
right.
it does very
Mm-hmm.
frequently and often in so many ways, even beyond just a financial aspect,
Exactly.
and I'm grateful.
Amen. Amen. All right, so we got to start wrapping this up. But everybody knows how to find her. Her website, LaShastaBell.com. She makes it very simple wherever you look, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn, which is where I found you. You contact LaShasta and find out about her doing a proposal for your organization again to help focus on that because a lot of times the upper management is sometimes the cause of it by sending emails in the middle of the night. They don't demonstrate it, right? And so they make it
Yes,
difficult. So if they understood the cost that this is having to organizations and to individuals' lives, and even to their own life, up in the middle of the night, um,
yes,
texting and sending emails, then all of us can live much better lives. So, Shasta, as we
absolutely.
close out, give us one word of wisdom that you want to leave with our audience today.
Okay, so before I leave the word of wisdom, I want you guys to know I'm working on a book. Be on the lookout. And I
Yay!
also want you to know that I am co hosting and planning a retreat from hustle to harmony, the beauty of success through the optimal life. It's going to be June of next year in Costa Rica. It's dropping soon.
Ooh.
Make sure you plug in for my Black and brown women. But I just like to tell people stay hydrated.
Hmm.
stay rested, and stay out of other folks' business. If you do those three things, you will see an instant ROI. Like, you will feel better in an hour. You will feel better in 2 hours. You will feel better in the morning and have more capacity for your purpose and what God has called you to do.
I love it. You said all of that. That was a mouthful, but it hits. It hits. It hits. It definitely lets us know what we need to do in order to get that sleep and to improve our lives and improve our longevity as well. So,
Absolutely.
LaShasta, thank you so much for being my guest today. You have sharpened my iron, girl, so good that I can't wait to share all this stuff with my husband. I got some personal reasons for some of these conversations, right? And so,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
but definitely you have sharpened my iron, and we'll ask guests if you have any questions. Definitely leave them there so that we can get some answers. Okay, but again, one question, one or two questions. Otherwise, you need to contact LaShasta and get some improvement related to your sleep and rest. All right, so we're going to get on out of here. We'll be back next week here on Asking for a Sister Friend, having another powerful conversation again that can ultimately transform your life. So, thank you for all who have joined today. And until next time, again, thank you, LaShasta, for being
Thank
here.
you.
And we will see you right here Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time for another Asking for a Sister Friend. We'll see ya. Bye bye.